If you sing in a public place, you will face a fine. If you smoke on the street, there is a fine for that too. Throw chewing gum on the sidewalk and you'll be fined. Bringing chewing gum into the country from abroad, that could land you in prison for a year. Drawing graffiti or sticking up a leaflet also incurs a fine. Eating in the subway, another fine. Even sitting by the sea and catching fish can lead to a fine. And then, what do you notice? You won't see any flying birds because even feeding the birds here carries a fine. Thanking a waiter with a tip, connecting to someone else's Wi-Fi, or walking in a group on the street after 10 at night, these are all actions that could result in fines. But rather than seeing it as the homeland of fines, it's better to call it the country of the most disciplined people in the world. This is Singapore, a nation made up of 60 islands where discipline and order reign supreme.
There are only three key factors that transformed Singapore from a poor nation into one of the world's richest in the last 30 to 40 years. The first is wise leadership, the second is hard work, and the third is discipline, exemplifying what we mentioned earlier. Lee Kuan Yew, the legendary figure who turned Singapore into a global trade and economic hub from a small palm-covered island on the Malacca Peninsula in Southeast Asia, famously said, "The mindset and behavior of the people replace the natural resources that are absent in the country." Indeed, even though Singapore is far away, we have set foot in this remarkable nation, which has already established itself and will continue to foster closer international relations in the future. The reason for our visit is the two-day state visit of the President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Singapore, translated from Sanskrit as City of the Lion, is symbolized by a lion with the body of a fish. Renowned worldwide as a city-state, it is already a marvel of modern development. As mentioned earlier, Singapore's land area is limited. However, by 2030, this equatorial evergreen nation plans to expand its territory by an additional 100 square kilometers through the creation of artificial islands. Out of the approximately 6 million people living on Singapore's 63 islands, only 3.5 million are citizens. Since 1965, this parliamentary republic has celebrated its National Day of Independence on August the 9th. The indigenous population is primarily Chinese, Malay and Indian. And then
Singapore has long been and continues to serve as a significant trading hub. Hence, the constitution acknowledged 4 official languages: English, Malay, Chinese, referred to as Putonghua, and Tamil, an ancient Indian language introduced during Lee Kuan Yew's era. Local residents are proficient in any of these languages, facilitating seamless communication for those familiar with them. Remarkably, in 2009, a list of 20 languages permissible for use in Singapore was compiled.
It's entirely possible. In Singapore, a multicultural hub with diverse cultures and religions, people from over 70 countries reside. Here you can meet individuals of any nationality.
Astana деп аталатын президент сарайында тұрмыз. Көріп тұрсыздар, бұл тарихи ғимарат.
The historical Astana, constructed in the 18th century, stands as the presidential palace. Its architectural design credited to British military engineers. A notable tradition here is opening the palace gates to the public during public holidays, where people gather in groups to celebrate. However, today's scene at the Astana is unique. In mere moments, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, arriving on a state visit, will be warmly welcomed. The president will then hold a meeting with the president and prime minister of Singapore.
The esteemed guest, carrying the welcoming essence of the Kazakh people, received a solemn greeting. Following this, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev made a memorable entry in the Book of Honored Guests. Two presidents, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Tharman Shanmugaratnam, introduced members of their respective official delegations to each other. Subsequently, they proceeded to the meeting room. The political partnership between Kazakhstan and Singapore originated in 1991, with diplomatic ties formalized in 1993. Over the years, communication channels have flourished on all fronts. Now the presidents have aligned to foster mutually advantageous investment projects. This marks the President of Kazakhstan's first visit to the Republic of Singapore in 20 years. Singapore holds the potential to serve as a key hub for Kazakhstan in expanding cooperation with ASEAN countries, while Kazakhstan aims to bolster cooperation between Singapore and the nations of Central Asia. The socio-political transformation occurring in both countries highlight the alignment of goals and principles between the Fair Kazakhstan and Forward Singapore programs. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev conveyed this during a meeting with Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong, extending an official invitation for his political counterpart to visit Kazakhstan. The inaugural political segment of the state visit concluded with exchange of signed intergovernmental and interdepartmental documents. Among these are significant agreements covering economic integration, protection of intellectual property rights, and the adoption of Singaporean metrology standards in Kazakhstan. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, upon meeting with Singapore's Deputy Prime Minister, Heng Swee-Keat, emphasized ongoing comprehensive reforms aimed at fostering favorable conditions for potential investors in Kazakhstan. Cooperation between the governmental and business sectors of both countries will only gain momentum once such conditions are established.
And there's now a Singapore-Kazakh business group they meet regularly, which is good, because what we have is that you are Central Asia, sizable potential market with lots of resources. We are more of a trading nation. We are also quite highly industrialized. And we're also part of ASEAN. ASEAN is 600 million. Central Asia is about 90 million. So there's a lot of potential. Population is still young, except Singapore is the oldest. The rest are still young population. Kazakhs are very young people. So I see great potential for joint ventures between young people in startups and innovation.
Your Excellencies, please welcome to Singapore-Kazakhstan Business Forum.
Despite its geographical remoteness, Singapore stands as our foremost partner in Southeast Asia. Last year, international trade turnover reached $1.8 billion of US dollars. With 144 Singaporean companies and joint ventures currently operating in Kazakhstan, the Kazakhstan-Singapore Business Council was established in 2022 to pinpoint optimal projects for attracting investment and technology to the country. Presently, 13 investment projects totaling $632 million of US dollars are underway.
Kazakhstan, with some 5,000 unexplored deposits, can be a steadfast partner to jointly develop their potential, considering the global demand for rare metals with quadruple by 2040. We have high expectations for a lasting partnership with the Indorama company, which is interested in exploring copper and phosphate deposits in Kazakhstan.
Қазақстан соңғы жылдары экономиканы әртараптандыру саясатын белсенді түрде жүргізіп келеді.
In recent years, Kazakhstan has actively pursued a policy of economic diversification, aiming to attract substantial investments across various sectors such as transportation, energy infrastructure, agriculture, and telecommunications. To facilitate this, a Kazakh-Singapore Business Forum is underway.
Форум өтіп жатыр. Осында Орталық Азия, соның ішінде Қазақстанның.
This platform serves to showcase the abundant resource potential of Central Asia, particularly Kazakhstan, to Southeast Asian nations like Singapore. We are striving to maximize our potential for them. As you can see, Head of State Kassym-Jomart Tokayev is addressing the audience. Clearly, the presence of the President enhances the significance of the forum and lends it greater weight.
Thanks to globalization and advanced infrastructure, communication between countries has significantly improved. One noteworthy example is a Trans-Caspian international transport corridor, often referred to as the Middle Corridor. This route has fostered a synergistic partnership between the East and West, with Kazakhstan playing a pivotal role. Going forward, it will serve as the fastest and most stable route from Central and East Asia to Europe.
The digital trade corridor is essentially a digital pipe that is designed to facilitate the trade flow between Asia, China, and Europe through the use of digital technology. Today we have over 40 colleagues in Central Asia. And we actually have piloted this track and trace function on March 2024. And this was presented to His Excellency President Tokayev, Kazakhstan, and His Excellency President Aliyev of Azerbaijan. The test custom project we have piloted with KTZ Express for the routes from China into Kazakhstan, into Uzbekistan, and also from China into Kazakhstan, into Brest and Poland, the northern route. So we tried the southern route and the northern route. So what it has done is that it really provided a lot of benefits for Kazakhstan, especially when President Tokayev also always mentioned that we need to improve the transparency of our border transit clearance.
For Singapore, it is crucial to explore the business and investment opportunities available in this direction. This country, positioned along the Indo-China trade route through the Singapore Strait, boasts a formidable seaport developed over the years. It is home to the world's fourth largest port, trailing behind Shanghai, Rotterdam and Hong Kong. With a permanent berth capacity of 250 lots, the Port of Singapore manages around 150 cargo ships daily. Additionally, Global DTC, a company facilitating container movement at this top-tier transshipment hub, is poised to commence operations on the Trans-Caspian corridor.
Currently, numerous initiatives are underway to develop the Trans-Caspian corridor and transform it into a viable alternative to sea routes. Additionally, the Trans-Caspian international route holds a significant relevance for European cargo carriers, as it represents a green corridor in the process of reducing carbon dioxide emissions. This is particularly crucial given that by 2025, European freight carriers will be subjected to new requirements concerning carbon dioxide emissions.
During the Kazakh-Singapore Business Forum, the President elaborated on cooperation in biotechnology and medicine, startups specializing in artificial intelligence, and the ambition to position Kazakhstan as a premier technological and IT hub on the Eurasian continent, like Singapore.
Today, over 2,000 companies from 80 countries walk through the IFC, facilitating investment capital for Kazakhstan and the whole region. More than 30 Singaporean companies are active participants at AFC, and I expect this number to continue to grow. The Astana International Financial Center has been actively cooperating with the Monetary Authority of Singapore to develop the win-win partnerships in fintech, green finance, and Islamic banking. The establishment of a Kazakh-Singaporean direct investment fund in the International Financial Center could serve as a platform to finance joint ventures in both countries.
It's no secret that the financial technology sector in Kazakhstan has gained significant momentum over the past 5 to 10 years with the emergence of leading global financial institutions. This growth extends beyond financial technology to include the use of artificial intelligence in the sector. Singaporean venture funds have the opportunity to invest in Kazakh projects. As a result, Kazakhstan can access Southeast Asia through Singapore, and Singapore can reach Central Asia through Kazakhstan.
As a result of the Business Forum, commercial documents were signed in the presence of the President of Kazakhstan and the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore. The purpose of the state visit is to attract large companies from Southeast Asia to Kazakhstan by highlighting the country's favorable investment climate. On this occasion, the President of Kazakhstan met with representatives from Temasek Holdings Investment Company, which has 13 offices in 9 countries, as well as Indorama Corporation, which operates 136 production sites in 32 countries, and Sovico Group. They discussed the potential for cooperation in establishing a joint investment fund and collaborating in digitalization, e-commerce, and renewable energy sources.
So today we have announced our agreement binding between Sovico and Samruk Kazuna for privatize the Kazakh. So that will be for next few months we will start in our implementation. And together with us, October Airport, we're supporting our Minister of Transportation. We have site today. We would like also to make like base together with Astana-Singapore. We would like to arrange the base for our allies there and cargo and passenger and logistics to develop.
The Vietnamese conglomerate Sovico Group has significant plans for developing civil aviation in our region. According to a pre-concluded agreement, the investor will bring 20 Boeing 737 MAX 8 and Airbus A320-321 aircraft to Kazakhstan within the next 5 years. Important aspects of the Alatau City project in the Almaty region were also discussed in Singapore. In January of this year, a decree by the head of state expanded the G4 City Special Economic Zone from 30,000 hectares to 96,500 hectares and renamed it the Alatau Special Economic Zone.
And we intend to build a brand new Singapore-style integrated metropolis that can become a leading international business hub operating to world-class standards. Well-designed infrastructure, innovative housing, and an emphasis on forward-looking industries, these are critical elements for ensuring the Alatau City's success as a sustainable development project.
If successful, the Alatau City project, implemented under the Singapore Central Asia Principle, will create over 1 million jobs. This project will serve as a catalyst not only for Kazakhstan but for the entire Central Asian economy.
We've been working on this project for quite a long time. And how to make this a global place to attract business, to attract people, and then to make this place is not only the world class, but also sustainable, green, resilient, and also inclusive. But the important part is really how to attract global tourism. And then so everybody will remember Alatau is not only a world class city, but also it's a very attractive tourist destination. We're talking about eco-friendly and then the sustainable, low carbon, very, very long-lasting, high-value environment.
This logistics zone is part of G4 City, and PSA is interested in the logistics sector. Together with the Kazakh company G-Trans, PSA plans to build a logistics center spanning over 500 hectares. The investment for this project amounts to $500 million. Firstly, this will create new jobs in Kazakhstan. Secondly, it will introduce completely new technologies, new management practices, and a new way of working to the country.
On the second day of the state visit, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev met with Senior Minister and Coordinating Minister for National Security, Teo Chi-hin of Singapore. They discussed the current state and future prospects of political and economic cooperation. At the end of the meeting, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev signed an autograph on the English version of his book, Meeting the Challenge, Memoirs by Kazakhstan's Foreign Minister, which Teo Chi-hin had brought with him. Teo Chi-hin apparently purchased the book during his visit to Kazakhstan.
From geopolitical tensions to macroeconomic headwinds and ever-frequent climate disasters, we are grappling with crises on multiple fronts. The security architecture is quickly eroding, and the mutual distrust among global powers is deepening. The post-Cold War peace dividend is clearly expiring as the world military spending last year grew to an all-time high of $2.2 trillion, veering towards a new arms race. Despite best efforts, the world is falling prey to a new set of military conflicts. However, both Astana and Singapore, as emerging middle powers, cannot simply agree with the polarization and division.
This is an important thesis from the 46th Singapore lecture titled Kazakhstan and the Role of Middle Powers, Ensuring Security, Stability and Sustainable Development by President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Organized by the Yusof Ishak Institute, the Singapore lectures provide a platform for academic groups, policymakers, diplomats, and young scholars since the 1980s to hear directly from heads of state and world-class politicians. However, not everyone gives lectures at this event. President of Kazakhstan Kassym-Jomart Tokayev was invited to speak at this prestigious venue during his state visit.
We will stay open and connected to the world and ensure our relevance as a globalized Kazakhstan, a foreign policy dimension of my country. This is the only way we can thrive in this new era of prolonged uncertainty. As such, we cannot afford to be complacent and passive. We will never hesitate to defend Kazakhstan's legitimate rights and interests, let alone sacrifice our core interests.
By the way, in January of this year, the German Institute for International and Security Relations for the first time included Kazakhstan in the category of middle powers in the world.
This year, we preside in 6 international bodies: Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Organization of Turkic States, Conference on Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia, Collective Security Treaty Organization, Islamic Organization for Food Security, and International Fund for Saving the RLC. The most destructive of them is the nuclear threat. Kazakhstan has suffered terribly from nuclear weapons testing, and for this reason, we will continue our struggle for a world free of nuclear arsenals.
After the lecture, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev answered a number of questions about the resolution of geopolitical conflicts, ensuring international security, the role of middle powers and prospects for the development of cooperation between Kazakhstan and Singapore. The meeting between Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and the third Prime Minister of Singapore, Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong, focused on discussing the exemplary legacy of Lee Kuan Yew in constructing a prosperous and innovative nation founded on principles of meritocracy, equality, good governance, and social harmony. During the state visit, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev participated in a special meeting, the Kazakh-Singapore Forum of Rectors, titled A New Peak of Cooperation in the Field of Science and Higher Education.
Today, contracts will be signed with Singapore's leading research institutes, science education centers, and research universities. The first objective is to send our talented young researchers to Singapore as part of the 500 Research Fellowship program announced by the President 3 years ago. The second significant contract involves leveraging Singapore's expertise in water safety, purification, resource development, as it's the most advanced country in these areas globally. Therefore, we aim to bring the strongest technologies and knowledge accumulated in Singapore over the past 50-60 years in the field of water to Kazakhstan. The third contract addresses the shortage of engineering and technical specialists in Kazakhstan, particularly in mechanical engineering and thermal power engineering. Hence, Singapore is now collaborating with Kazakhstan to implement a robust model of dual education and engineer training.
Two main reasons drive the above agreements. Firstly, Singapore, which relied on purchasing its drinking water from Malaysia until 1960s, has now developed advanced technology capable of capturing, filtering, and purifying rainwater before it reaches the ground. Despite experiencing heavy tropical rainfall throughout the year, Singapore effectively manages to prevent flooding. Secondly, the contracting parties Nanyang Technological University and the National University of Singapore hold the 11th position in the world rankings for the quality of education, making them highly reputable institutions for collaboration with Kazakhstan.
One of the MOUs signed during the visit of President Tokayev this year was a collaboration in higher education that bodes well for the future. There's also relationship between the National University of Singapore, relationship between National Technological University, universities in Kazakhstan. There's much that we can look forward to. There are areas of collaboration in terms of digitalization, areas of collaboration in terms of new economy, in energy. There's so much more that we can do together. More importantly is to be able to provide opportunities for our young people to connect with each other. Scholarships are offered to Kazakh students in Singapore, as much as we also want Singaporean students to go to Kazakhstan. As they learn from each other, they can build strong relationship, they can build strong friendship that will bode well for the future of the two countries.
Over the past few years, Kazakhstan has forged strategic partnerships with 19 renowned universities. Through the Bolashak program, over 12,000 Kazakh students have graduated from top universities worldwide, with 72 of them receiving higher education in Singapore. Currently, 58 young Kazakh individuals are pursuing their studies there.
In Southeast Asia, if there is one country where relations with Kazakhstan are dynamically evolving, it's Singapore. A partnership based on trust and fruitful cooperation exists between the two nations. This lays the foundation for advancements in various sectors, including energy, the digital economy, financial technologies, agricultural technologies, logistics, communications, processing of necessary raw materials, infrastructure development, education, and human capital. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev's state visit to Singapore was marked by the signing of several beneficial agreements.
Kazakhstan and Singapore hold significant potential for establishing cooperation across various sectors of the economy. Additionally, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev's state visit to Singapore will undoubtedly deepen existing relations, boost economic growth, enhance living conditions, and improve the regional situation.